Okay. Good evening, everybody, or good afternoon in where you are at the moment. So this is Guru Tom Pena, and tonight we for episode 348 we are going to have Julian AC, Julian of Adrenaline Combatives,
Hello.
and of course tonight I'm going to be co-hosted by our very own Guru Brian Rodriguez.
Hi, how are
How you
everybody?
doing, Brian?
How you doing, sir?
How are you doing, guys?
Very good.
Pretty good, pretty good.
All set?
We're all set. We're all ready.
We're all set,
Okay.
all ready to rock
Got,
and
got the
roll.
got the box Kleenexes right here.
Okay, so again, guys, if if you're watching this podcast, please say hi and say where you're watching from. Smash the like or the heart button. And if you got any questions for Julian, we're going to be talking quite a lot about combatives and pressure testing. So if you got any question, just um, put it in the comment box. Okay, so um, it would be actually fair to allow Brian basically introduce you, Julian, and because Brian is actually the one who suggested for you to be interviewed. So Brian, take it away.
How's it going, everybody? How's everybody doing? I want to introduce here to Mr. Julien from Adrenaline Combatives. Um, great instructor. I started taking some of the material. It's been about like a couple sessions now, and I'm definitely hooked on his teaching style and his methodology and his way of pressure testing stuff. So I want everybody to welcome him. I know we're not purely FMA tonight, although he's done some FMA in the past. He's not a full practitioner FMA, but I mean still knife work he does and everything in knife defense is relative to what we have here on the show. So without further ado, I'll let Guru Tom take it away with the first start of the questions here.
Okay, all right, Julian. So um, right, for those, not everybody have watched last night's test run.
Test run, yeah.
Okay, so again, would you be able to actually tell us how you started your martial arts, your FMA, and your combatives journey?
Okay. Well, that's a bit of a long story, but we're going to try to make that long story
Let's condense it.
Keep it short. Keep it short.
Right. I started the martial art when I was 4 years old. If I remember well, it was really me seeing a Bruce Lee movie. The first time I've seen Bruce Lee on the TV, and I was there, and I knew this is what I wanted to do, And I've stuck to it ever since. My first martial art was judo. So I started judo when I was 4 years old. Really, I wanted to go to more impactive form of martial arts from a young age, but my mother didn't want to let me go to these. So she said judo was good for a start, and eventually I moved to karate. I wanted to go to the hardcore style of karate, Kyokushinkai, but there was only it was a Shotokan school that we had next to home, so I had to go and do a bit of Shotokan, and I've liked it for a while, but I got bored of it pretty quickly. So I decided to move to Taekwondo, and Taekwondo was pretty cool. I kind of liked Taekwondo and stuck with it for a while, but because of I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was younger, so I had learning difficulties. It was difficult for me to concentrate, and it was difficult for me to keep to only one martial art. I was really passionate about all martial arts. It's like I wanted to practice everything. I wanted to know everything. And as I said yesterday, it's also around that time that the internet started to become more, prevalent. So I was just researching as much as I could on as many martial arts as I could, and I stuck with Taekwondo for a while. Obviously, from a very young age, I got the interest in Jeet Kune Do, And at that point, the bulk of the Jeet Kune Do that we could find online was derived from Danny Inosanto. Danny
Yeah.
Inosanto's JKD concept,
Yeah.
which has got a lot of really, really interesting things to train as well. And even in France, we had these few big names. Every country has got a few big names of the people that really made it really far in the martial arts and really contributed to the martial arts a lot. And there were names like, I don't know if these names are going to ring a bell, but I'm still going to mention them.
Yeah,
People
of course.
like Frank Ropers, that is doing some a very street version of Silat. Okay, who's mixed some Thai boxing and some boxing with it as well, and I think that's pretty cool. He's quite big now in France, and you got the old timers like Charles Jousseau and Robert Paturel, that really made a big imprint onto the martial art world in France. And then later, as I was training with my father, I also got to meet certain people like Vincent Roca. That's the first person that really got me into the more pragmatic aspect of martial art, a more street approach to everything. So, as I said, I was really trying to get as much information and knowledge and studying as much as I could on all different martial arts. And when you look, most people that have made it, quite far now in the martial arts are people that have created some sort of hybrid martial art, which very often, is following Bruce Lee's principle, the principle of absorbing what is useful, rejecting what is useless, and add what is our own to it, which is a philosophy that I have been following for a long time as I was gathering techniques. Because before I was thinking in terms of techniques, before I started to learn in form of concepts and principles rather than techniques and skill set. But as I said to you, it's all about combative maturity. I remember when I was 15, the way that I was thinking was completely different, and the way that I was training was completely different than the way that I train now. Even 5 years ago, even 10 years ago. So I can see the progression. And then I had my father. My father, that I said to you, was in the French Special Forces as well. He was involved with teaching as well from a young age. He was a hand-to-hand combat instructor and CQB instructor in the CRS, which is the anti-riot police special forces. They also deal with the hostage taking and all that. So it's like he was definitely dealing with the real thing, day in, day out. So I was lucky enough to have him as well to train with. He taught me my first weapon that I've learned was the tonfa.
Okay.
And so the method that I was taught by my father was the Robert Paturel method, which was basically created for the police forces. So, and as I grew up, I just wanted to know how to use everything. So I started to train with knives from a very young age as well, with swords, with batons, long staff, balls. I mean, I've kind of touched a bit of everything. And I kind of gathered all these skill sets and started to make my own thing with it, really, following the same principles, following the same JKD principles. And so, there was a point where there was a transition. There was a point where there was a transition from traditional martial arts to more, to more pragmatic martial arts. Okay. And then eventually there was a point where there was a transition from the traditional martial art that I was doing and the combat sports. When I started to get into boxing, into Thai boxing, into MMA a bit. This is where I got more into the sporty aspect of combat, but which is nevertheless really, really good. I hold boxing, Thai boxing, and MMA and jiu-jitsu in very, very high regard. These are some very efficient skill sets to have, way of fighting. But it's not everything. And there are still rules, there's still rules and regulations, and there's still a lot of things that you can't do in a match fight. So really the thing that, it was a journey, and every time I met somebody, I was lucky enough to train with some of the best people in the world, and every time these people gave me a bit of knowledge, a little nugget of knowledge that was like, wow, that made me rethink everything I thought. So at first, it was the combat sport where I started to realize, wow, it's completely different when there is resistance,
Yeah.
when there is non-compliancy, and when you have to train force and force.
Mm.
And then eventually what happened is, I think around the time when I was living in Ukraine, I was watching, Tommy Crothers from Scotland,
Yeah.
from Glasgow. I've been watching him for years and years and years. And I started to get in touch with him at some point on Facebook. I remember when I was living in Ukraine, and I was working on my straight lead. And, it was the first time when I was looking at the Ted Wong lineage, the Ted Wong Jeet Kune Do lineage, which was completely different than the Dan Inosanto lineage. It was more simple, more. I think. I'm not into politics at all. I respect every single instructors out there, every single martial artist. People do what they do, but when it comes to Jeet Kune Do, I think personally that the closest thing to Jeet Kune Do is when you watch Bruce Lee's sparring footage at the Long Beach tournament. Do you know what I mean? And when you see this form of fighting, there is only one person in the world that I've ever seen train like this and teach like that. It's Tommy Carruthers. So I went, I started to observe him. I got in touch with him. I started to train. I got his online lessons, and eventually, at some point, he said to me, "Why don't you come and do some training with us?" So I went to Glasgow.
Okay.
I went to live in Glasgow just so I could train with Tommy and his guys. And this training with Tommy definitely is. Tommy is one of the person that had the biggest impact on the way that I view combat training, the way that I train and everything. Basically, as I said yesterday, we spoke about it, using the analogy of the toolbox.
Yeah.
When I arrived at Tommy Crothers' basement in Glasgow, I already had about 20 years martial arts experience under my belt. Constant training, pretty much training every day. And when I had some time off, I would research it. It'd be like an obsession. Do you know what I mean? And when I arrived there, basically, I arrived with a massive toolbox with a lot of tools, too many tools. And what Tommy did is he grabbed that toolbox and he put it upside down and he just emptied it right in front of my eyes. And he went, right, this is not simple enough. You don't need it. Throw that away. That's not good enough. Throw it. It's basically made me only keep 5, 6 tools. That was it. But he made me drill these tools so many different ways. He made me drill them until I owned them. And it really helped me with the way that I view, simplicity. Because there is a lot of other complications in the martial arts. A lot of it. A lot.
Of course, yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, when you gain that mentality, if you want to get the job done, it takes one shot. It takes one very accurate shot. Yeah, exactly. And that's all it takes, really. It's not like in the movie where people fight for like 20 minutes and they're still standing when they should both be dead.
Come on, yeah, sure it is.
Exactly.
Training with Tommy definitely, gave me a very simplified mind, and it's also, I think it's also right around that time when I started to realize that if we think in terms of technique, then we will never have enough space in our head to fit all the techniques in there.
That's true.
But if we think in terms of concept and principles, then all of a sudden we have some sort of folder to put all these techniques in there. Using the analogy of the folder and the files.
Yeah.
If the techniques are the files, and you put all the files in your head, it's going to be so messy out there. But if you have some folders where now you can classify all your files,
yeah.
But that's the same thing about seeing the thinking in terms of concepts and principle rather than thinking in terms of technique. Because once you understand the concept and principle, you understand that every skill set, every technique actually reflects a certain principles and a certain concept. And once we understand that, then everything changes here, because now we can create our own techniques
Exactly.
because we understand the principle, the
Yeah.
underlying principle.
Yeah, and at least with that way, you can actually adjust and flow to whatever
Yeah,
changes in the situation because you
absolutely.
understand it and you basically have a strong understanding and a strong foundation of the structure
Yeah,
as well.
for
So,
sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah,
I want to kind of get into. You talked about the first part of your journey of how you know the JKD and stuff like that. I want to get to the meat and potatoes of how you met Mr. Lee Morrison and that guy. I mean, I had to speak. I never met a guy before in my life. Never interacted with him on social media or anything.
Yeah.
That man is like a bad motherfucker.
Lee,
That guy is. He is. I
yeah, Lee.
got inspired by watching some of his stuff. I'm like, man, this guy's like just going through some of his videos. Like, it makes a lot of sense. Like all the stuff he was saying. I know a lot of people give him shit. Like there's one video came out about the MMA and the
Lee,
Combative. So
you know
I
what?
don't care about that, you know. But yeah,
Lee is definitely one of a kind. You know, like a very, very
yeah.
rare person. I'm
Mhm.
very selective when it comes to the instructors that I like to train with, and you know,
Mhm.
I'm that sort of person. I learn from everyone. You know,
mm,
I'm modest enough and humble enough to be able
Yeah,
to learn from everyone, but I'm still selective. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And when you look at somebody like Lee Morrison, who's a great guy, you know,
yeah,
don't get on his wrong side. That's one thing for sure. But
yeah.
he's a really good guy that
Man.
has got a big heart and who's helping people. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? And he's been helping a lot of people, and he's been helping me a lot. He's definitely like a father figure to me. One of my best friends, definitely a father figure, and my mentor and my boss now.
yeah. Oh,
So
yeah, definitely.
uh,
I was at
Lee,
that. Sorry, to Guru Tom. Have you seen some of Lee Morrison's
I
material?
have actually. I
Yeah,
actually even
it's
have
yeah,
a DVD
okay,
yeah. It's
of some of his
top
work.
notch stuff. Is
Yeah,
like
he is.
wow,
He's really good. He's really good.
realistic, no bullshit, just like
Oh yeah.
straight to
the
the
thing
point. Like
the
yeah,
the the thing with Lee is that, you know what, when you look at instructors, it's rare. It's very rare to find everything in one package. Yeah, it's
mm,
very rare to find an instructor that is very good at presenting stuff.
Yeah.
Somebody that's good at presenting, somebody that's good at relaying the message to his
Yeah.
students, somebody that's, you know, passionate to teach and pass on the knowledge,
mm,
somebody that's very, very articulated, that can explain things very, very well, and even break it down in layman
mm,
terms so that
Mm.
everyone can understand it.
mm.
And on the top of that, he can fucking do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
He can do
Even
it.
at this age.
Yeah.
yeah.
So what you know you see is absolutely amazing stuff. I don't think that anyone has done as, I mean, you know, there's a lot of people in this field, but that I know of, I don't know anyone that has done as much work and as much research as much as Lee did.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because it's
And
not
it,
only it's not only the physical aspect of it. It's not
and
only, you know,
His
and
the
you know
combat,
what
personality
you
is
know
but
what I
different
really
as
like about
well.
it's the
you.
mental and the
Yeah.
psychological that goes behind it.
And you know what I really like about you, like Lee, like it's not theory, it's like shit that's been proven in the field. You guys have
Yeah,
been in the shit. You guys have been in the trenches, and like it's not just like, well, you know, if you come up to somebody, you could do this and that, well, you know, but like you guys have live it. Like you
yeah.
guys live, you know, working the doors. Him, I don't know what he did before, but whatever he did before, he's had the actual real life
He's
experiences. And
definitely
me,
had
yeah,
his fair of violence.
yeah, and like I said, when I look at instructors too, I try to look for people who have the real world experience, because those people can tell you like right off the bat, like, hey, if I do this and that, hey man, that's not gonna work. Well, how you know? Because I do this shit every day,
The
and I know
thing,
it's not gonna
the
work.
thing
You
is,
know?
depending how serious you are with your training and with your exploration of combat training and combat, but in itself, is you have to be willing to put yourself in this.
Yeah.
How to say? Basically, the best way to desensitize yourself to adrenaline
Yeah.
is to be exposed to it.
Exposed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Inoculate.
so as I always say, the best way if you want to deal with your adrenaline is go and work the doors, go to the military, go to the police forces.
Mhm.
You will have to face your adrenaline. You will have
You
to
face your own
learn
Yeah.
to
You
fears.
will
manage
have
your
to face your
Yeah.
adrenaline.
own demons.
Yeah. Um, So, like I said, getting back to that question, like, how did you get introduced to Lee? Like, how'd you meet him? Like, what made you pick him? Like, 'cause if you can,
Okay,
if you don't mind sharing that with us, I'm
okay.
interested in it, so I really want to know it. So,
So I've been watching Lee's videos since I can remember, really, for a very long time. Even when I was growing up in Eastern Europe, in Lithuania, I was already watching Lee Morrison's videos. Uh, I've always found it really, really simple. He explained it really well. And I thought to myself, you know what, one day I want to train with a man. And I didn't, I was more interested in JKD at first, Jeet Kune Do, and, that's where I was going. That's the direction I was going. But I went at some point when I moved in the UK. Oh, I mean, I got a really interesting story, but we might not have the time for everything. But let's just put it that way. When I moved in the UK, I had only 10 euros in my pocket, and I had more weight in stuff in bags than my own body weight. And I was homeless for about 2-3 months. And it was the Irish travelers that got me off the street. Gave me a caravan to live in on a gypsy site with them, and I used to do block paving and roofing for them for quite a while. And eventually, at some point after that, I left to Southampton because I just wanted to leave that area. I just went to Southampton, start fresh. And one day I saw these adverts or urban combat class and stuff. And there was boxing. There was actually boxing just before. And I went to do a bit of boxing. I went to box for a bit. And Lee's class was just after that. So I decided to stay. And I had a look. It was really cool. And I remember that day I had no money. And Lee was like, "Oh, it's a fiver." And I was looking in my pockets and I was like, "Fuck, I got no money." And I remember Lee just turning around saying like, "Cheeky cunts," like. And that was like, I mean, that was back in 2010. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I didn't go back after that for some reason. I ended up moving back to London, and then after I went to the Ukraine because I got married in the Ukraine, and so basically what happened is that at some point, I was putting a lot of videos on Facebook. I've always put a lot of videos, shared a lot of videos in groups and things like that, and eventually some of my videos made it to the Urban Combatives group. And one day I received an email from Lee like that out of the blue. It was like getting a letter from Santa Claus. Do you know what I mean? It's just like so. And basically he said in that email, "Oh, I've seen some of your videos. I really like what you do. I think you got some potential, and that's my phone number. Just ring me and we'll speak them. We might have some opportunities for your future if should you want to. Do you know what I mean?" And I got back in touch with him. We had a good chat, and he's invited me to teach a seminar for his instructors. That was the New Blood 5 New Blood seminar. So where I was teaching along Jamie Miller and Tom Flint on that day. So that was really, really cool. I went there. I taught them the eye jab, the way that it was taught to me by Tommy Roberts. So really worked on the eye jab, perfect that skill set. And it went really well. And eventually, at some point, I moved to Southampton for a while to do some training with Lee. So I was getting quite a few privates. Every week I was getting privates, and I was doing the weekly classes with him. And, I've been studying UC ever since. And, eventually with the time, me and Lee got closer. We became friends, and, we started to do more training, and eventually at some point he invited me to do the IDP, which was this year. I think he's got another one next year as well, which is the instructor development program for urban combatives.
Yeah.
And for me, it was my dream. I always wanted to do that. You know what I mean? If I said to myself, if I'm going to become an instructor under someone, it has to be someone good. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So I think Lee was a great choice. Plus, you see urban combatives, it's like a brotherhood. It's more than a school. It's really a brotherhood where everyone is there for each other. Everyone has got each other's back, which is weird when you see it because we're a bit crazy as well. You have to be to train the way that we do. You have to be a bit
Yeah, I
You know,
seen that shit. I'm like,
You have to be a bit mental.
they're all like, hey, what's up?
the,
Oh, another person worth mentioning is I don't know if I want to butcher his name is the other instructor, Michael Mulder.
oh, Mikhail Mulder, yeah,
Well,
he's
Mikhail
very good.
Mulder. Yeah. I butchered his fucking name. Sorry if you're watching. But
Mikhail is very
that
good.
guy's badass too. Yeah, I really like his material stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah. Mikhail is definitely the guy right now that's really killing it. You know, with UC,
Yeah.
he's really doing well now. So
Yeah.
he's definitely a big inspiration for me. He's doing a lot of great work, and I can see he's starting to develop things of his own as well, which is great. I hope at some point I get to that point as well. You know, because right now I've been studying UC for a long time, but I still got a lot of things to learn. I still got a lot of things to learn. And yeah, Mikhail is definitely doing really well. Him and his missus, Xenia, they're both doing really
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
really proud of them.
Really respect that guy. Both those guys. Oh, someday before I die, I like to meet. Those are two guys I like to meet, like in a seminar.
Yeah.
And you too. Obviously you as well. But I mean, man, I have to make a trip to Europe here, Tom. Save me a bed.
Yeah, man.
I sleep on the couch.
Of course. So casa mi casa, bro.
Same thing here, man.
You're always welcome.
How did adrenaline combatives what's come about as far as did you merge material or how that kind of
Okay, so at first, the funny thing is that a long time ago, I've called my thing urban combat science. Okay. And eventually, at some point, there was a bit of because it was a bit too close to urban combatives, and me and Lee had a little run-in because some people came to see him and said, "Look, he's copying you, he's copying your material, he's copying your name and thing almost." Do you know what I mean? You always have trolls and people that got fuck all else to do that will just go and try to throw spanners in your work. But I've always had a good intention. My intention was always to help people. I was never just here to copy people's stuff. In fact, I don't even believe in that. We're all individuals at the end of the day, and nobody reinvents the wheel. There's nothing new under the stars. But at the same time, I give credit where it's due. When I show stuff that I've learned from somebody, I'm like, Lee's the same. He always gives credit to where he learned stuff from. So, and we all learn stuff from a bit everywhere anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's all about it's all about, like we said, absorbing what is useful, rejecting what is useless, and add our own sauce to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You were Tom. I interrupted you. I apologize. I knew you were going to ask me a question. So.
No, that's fine. I was just actually reading a comment from Brett here. Howdy, gents. My buddy, I respect much, though I don't apply his way. Is Lee Morrison based as well as most that show up at his seminar? Yeah, I would not want to meet Lee in a bar brawl unless he was on my side. Definitely.
Yeah, that's one thing for sure.
Definitely. And
GM Yuli's here too. Hi, GM.
Hi, GM.
You just watched in there from the Philippines. There you go. So we've got that pretty much your background and your other martial arts and stuff. I know you mentioned before that you kind of dabbled in FMA with some knife and stick and stuff like that. So can you kind of just take us a background of what you?
Yeah, so basically, from a very young age, I had a keen interest in weaponry. I wanted to learn how to use everything, and I've looked at a lot of different styles, but for sure, it was when I looked into the JKD principles, the Danny Inosanto school, that I delved into Kali a little bit, the Kali sticks, the Eskrima, the thing, and I really got the basics from it. I didn't want to overcomplicate things too much. I like to keep things simple and gross motor skills. So look, for example, the angles, the 12 hours on the clock, the 12 angles, I got that from the Filipino martial arts. At some point, I was looking at a lot of Filipino knife stuff, and I took what I needed from it, and I just left it. I've absorbed what was useful for me,
Yeah.
and rejected the rest, and then I moved on to something else.
No,
And
you can't say that. You can't say that. You got to take everything. You can't reject everything. You got to
we're all
absorb everything.
different. We're all different, and some stuff that might work for certain people might not work for other people.
Yeah.
For the
Yeah, that's
simple
true.
fact that our
Body
mind is
structure,
different. Sorry.
mindset. I said body structure and your mind are different.
Exactly. The mindset, the mind process, the way that we think, the mentality, the mindset, and the body type, the morphology will dictate
Yeah.
what is better for you to use, what sort of skill set is better for you, and what sort of skill set is, it's like I said to you, Tom, yesterday. I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'1". So if I was fighting somebody that was smaller than me, it would be very difficult for me to apply. If I was boxing, for example, it was very difficult. It would be very difficult for me to apply
Bobbing.
bobbing and weaving. With the head movements and weaving under. If I'm tall and I'm
Yeah.
fighting somebody smaller, it would make
Exactly.
no
Yeah.
sense. It would
That's
be
true.
better for me to, or create distance and then close the
Yes.
distance again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
By
mean?
foot. Yeah. Using footwork. Yeah.
That is it.
Yeah. Zoning, creating distance, basically managing your space. That's how
That's
you're
right.
gonna play it.
So I know you mentioned he said he did some Libre knife. I never
Right.
caught yesterday.
When I say I did, it's the same thing about there are some martial arts that I actually went to meet the people and train with them or train with people that trained with them. When it comes to Libre, I've never met Scott Babb personally. I've spoke with him. I mean, I've exchanged a few messages with him. I really like his stuff, and I've been observing. I'm a very visual kinesthetic learner rather than an auditory learner. The VAC
Yeah.
principle,
Yeah.
visual, auditory,
Yeah.
kinesthetic. I'm a person, I have to see stuff. When I see stuff, then I try it, and then I can implement it into my toolbox. Do you know what I mean? So what I did with Scott Babb was I've observed a lot of his videos, and it was really Lee Morrison that got me into the Libre more, because
Mhm.
I was like, oh, do you know what? If Lee likes that stuff, there must definitely be something to it. And then when I looked at Scott Babb, I was like, yeah. There's the fact that when it comes to knife fighting, if you focus on attacking with punctures, with stabs rather than slashes, you will have a much better chance of
Yeah.
success than to create as to make more damage in
Yeah.
as less time.
Yeah.
So I thought Libre is very, very interesting. I took some things from it, not everything, but I took some things from it and I've added it to my to my toolbox, to my skill set. But that's not the only knife style that I took from. If people look at the way that I move with the knife in extreme close quarter or in close quarter, then yes, you will find a lot of Libre. You will find a lot of very similar things to Libre, because I think that's what works. Now, if you were to see me in extreme close quarter with the blade, well, now we are grappling. Well, now I would use a bit more of a grappling method, a bit of
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu, a Russian sambo, but things that have been adapted, because now we're grappling with a weapon.
With a weapon. Yes.
So it's like Craig Douglas, Southnark in the US, who is doing all the grappling with the firearm and the knives inside confined space, inside cars. That's some really, really cool stuff. Actually, Craig Douglas inspired me a lot to do the car combative stuff that we've been doing. But so when you look at this, yeah, that's different styles that I use for different things. Now, if we were in long range with a knife, if for example your assailant has got a knife as well, and now you manage to get your blade at, and he's got a blade as well. Now you got to control the space. You have to keep your distance, and you have to touch without being touched. So that's where I'm going to use something more like Tommy Carruthers Jeet Kune Do, because it's very close to fencing and attacking the eyes, attacking the kneecaps, attacking the groin. I think that's very efficient, even with the knife.
Yeah.
So you see people fighting with a knife, and they think all they have is with the knife. It's the emotional attachment to the weapon. They think that's all they have. They got the knife, and they forget that they got two legs to kick. They got another arm to punch through elbow.
Yeah.
They can feel bicep, but so that's why I like when it comes to long range with a knife. I like to use more of a fencing, methodology, a bit more of a JKD background, more of the Tommy, especially the Tommy Carruthers Jeet Kune Do is really good stuff for that.
And that's what like the Piper, like in close quarters, because we have used a lot of the offhands. Like we have a weapon, and we use a lot. This offhand is used a lot for striking, distractions. So that's why I agree with you on that. Like your offhand is very important. Like I think Guru Dean was saying for like if more FMA used the offhand, like for not just blocking but other things besides what we use stuff like that, it would be a lot better. Guru Tom. Do you have that? Do you have any of the video? Do you have the video of the one in the car? Did you send him the video of the one in the car where you guys are doing that one in the car, or was it the bus, or I forget which one it was?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah.
All right. I've sent 3 links yesterday in the group chat for some videos. The one in the car, the one in the bus.
Yeah, if you can pull that up, Guru Tom.
Okay, I'm gonna put it.
Lower us down.
I'm gonna put it.
Some really great stuff. You guys got to see this.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun filming that for sure.
Yeah, I kind of want to do that too.
Yeah, sure.
Just get slapped in the head. Oh. Is it pulling up?
Hold on. Okay. Is that the second one?
I think the first one is the one in the car.
Okay, the first one. Okay.
Yeah, we were doing some scenarios. We were doing like simulations inside the cockpit of a car. Different scenarios.
Okay, let's see. I think it's still. Let's see if it's still downloading.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think it's good you're doing those too, like real world stuff like that people can see like it applied instead of just talking about it. You can actually see it. So
yeah, true. Yeah, pictures are worth 1,000 words, as they say.
Okay. I'll let you know when it's ready.
Oh, okay. We're all sitting there like.
I know.
Yeah, it's I think that was great. You posted those videos. A lot of people see. I know I watched them. I think I watched that car one like 2 or 3 times. I used to show it to people at work, and they're like, "Man, these fucking guys are nuts. They're beating the shit out of each other." I was like, "You guys gotta check this shit out." On my phone, I was like, "They're looking, man, that's awesome." They want to do it. So I was like,
"It's definitely good fun."
Yeah. The one in the bar is what I like. I don't know if you ever sent the video of the one in the bar where you're having a drink and that guy's like, "What are you looking at?" And you're like, I forgot what you said.
These are scenario trainings where
I love it. Yeah.
We add dialogue, role play, to make it more realistic, basically.
Okay, I think it's ready now.
Okay.
I'm gonna
lower us all down.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to leave you there, Julien, so that you'll be able to explain to them.
Okay. Explain what?
Oh, mate, no, I haven't seen it, man. Oh, yeah, man, it's there.
I can't really see the video, so what I can explain is what we were doing were simulations and scenario training, where we were taking it, it wasn't full contact yet, but we took it to a good 60-75% intensity. It was definitely good fun. So there was different scenarios. The first scenario was road rage. So, the sort of scenario where you're seated inside your car. Very often you've got your seatbelt on, you might have someone in the passenger seat, and somebody is, maybe trying to attack you through the window. So, always observe the 2 inches rule, to keep your window up, winded up to 2 inches so that people can't, put their arms in there and drive you. Or, sometimes it's summer and you might have the window open, it happens. And imagine somebody trying to drive you out of your car while you're seated in your car. That would be the first scenario that we did. And then after we had a look at bladed threat inside the cockpit of a car, where now you're seated in a car next to somebody, and that somebody tries to access a weapon, access a blade. And either you got your seatbelt on or you don't. You need to train both, because you need to train the fine motor skill that it takes to touch your belt and trace it down in order for you to get free from your seatbelt so that you can deal with the threat at hand. So that's the second sort of scenario that we had a look at. Okay, dealing with a bladed threat inside the car. What else did we have? Oh yeah, we had knife hold up as well. We trained knife hold up. So if somebody's got already a blade on your throat or anywhere on your body, demanding your money or whatever, and you have to deal with it there and then. Okay. So we had a lot, we worked a lot of things, and as I said before in those videos, the most important thing in there is to learn to generate knockout power from restriction, from a sitting position, for example, which is, for a lot of people it's difficult because everyone is used to strike from an ideal position, ideal foot positioning where you got proper weight transfer, you can build a solid kinetic chain through the correct application of body mechanics. But when you're sitting, now it's much more difficult to strike with power, do you know what I mean? And so this requires a lot of training. We got some pad work inside the car, we got different types of pad work. We have solo pad work, or partner pad work, through the window of the car or inside the car. You should be able to throw all your extreme close quarter tools from a seated position, from a lying position, from a kneeled position. You should be able to strike with power from any position, and that takes a lot of time and practice to be able to achieve. But with enough training, you get there. I don't know where you are on the video because I can't see the video. So it was to explain a bit about the video. Oh, there you're back.
Yeah, actually, it's nice. You in the video you basically showed like situations wherein your attacker is coming from outside, they're trying to get inside, and you got like also situations wherein you're seated together.
Yes.
So did you have to like layer when you do all these drills?
Yeah. What do you mean layer?
So that basically you can isolate certain skill sets, certain.
Yes, that's what we do. That's what we do. So look, for example, I got an impact module inside the car where we're just going to put some big boxing gloves, some 16-ounce boxing gloves. We're going to put them on, and we're just going to batter each other. Just strike, no grappling. We can't grab, just strike. Okay. So this is to train, to learn to first of all to get hit inside a car, to become comfortable with getting hit hard inside a car, and also learning to strike. As I said, striking from restriction, striking with power from restriction. So that would be one module where we isolate just the striking. Okay, so we would just go in the car and punch each other up, and work on covering up, and then work on the different type of skill set, like the 3C, cover, crash, and counter. Things can be applied also inside the car. Then let's just say we would like to just work on the grappling. Yeah. So now we're gonna take the boxing gloves off, and we're just gonna grapple, no strike. The only thing we can do is apply submission. So, choke or any submission that would work from inside the car, okay? That's what we would do. That's where we would isolate our grappling skills, okay? Then we could make grappling even more difficult and do what South Narc boys are doing in the US, which is grappling inside a car with somebody that has got a weapon on him, like a gun or a blade, and see how we deal with this. And then we could just isolate another skill set, which is attacking the eyes. Yes, we could just work just on attacking the eyes, eye jabs, a rapid eye blitz from inside the car and all that. And then what we could do is put it all together. Put the protections, put the headgear on, put the groin guard and the MMA gloves on so that we can grapple and strike.
Yeah.
And then we put it all together and see where it goes. Do you know what I mean? You try all sorts of crazy things, even a knife on knife inside the car, inside the cockpit of a car, where you got no space to run away.
Yeah.
It becomes, we call them blender drills, where
yes.
both of you are gonna get stabbed and cut, but it's a mindset thing. It's really to work on the mindset. Who's gonna put more holes? The mindset that I'm gonna put as many holes in your throat in as less time as possible, and I'm gonna try to get stabbed as last time as possible. It's a mentality. It's not martial art. It really is a mentality. And every drill, when they're isolated, will isolate a certain type of skill set. So if it's like in boxing. We isolate footwork, we isolate head movement, we isolate punches, and then we put it all together. Do you know what I mean? So it's the same thing. You want to chunk things down in order for it to be much easier for people to learn, and then we chunk it back up. We put it all back together, and it's good to think outside the box. And
that's true.
Yeah, and a lot of people. Sorry.
Yeah, so I was about to say it's also the same way when you practice basically any game plan in any sport.
Yeah.
Team sports or individual sport. You basically try to basically peel one skill set from the other, and you pull it back together.
Yeah.
So at least you'll be able to test it through skirmishes and basically like inter-school competitions or leagues before you basically use them in the big league. So that's how you basically pressure test it.
It's true. It's true. And you see that there's a lot of people. I've noticed it. Okay, I think that life is the most important thing, isn't it? Life. So there's a lot of people that look at the sort of training that we do, and I've had that sort of comment a lot before, where people say, "Oh, you're crazy. You shouldn't teach. You shouldn't even post videos like that. You're gonna get arrested. You're gonna get jailed. You're gonna go to jail." Yeah, if people use that, they're gonna go to jail and stuff. And I'm like, dude, you've never been in a life or death situation. You have absolutely no idea of what would happen in your body, what would happen, And it's like, people are more scared to go to jail nowadays than they are afraid to die.
Well,
yeah,
it's how the society is basically like, especially in the UK.
Worried about getting in trouble rather than worried about going home to their family. Yeah,
like, trust me, if you got somebody breaking in your house at 3 a.m. If you got an armed or multiple armed assailants in your house at 3 a.m. where you got your wife in there and your kid, trust me, the last thing you're gonna think about is trying to preserve him. You're gonna think about staying alive.
Yeah. I mean, we know the thing we talked about that happened to me this last weekend. I'm not going to go into it, but I wasn't thinking about I'm not going to go to jail or anything when that happened.
Exactly.
That wasn't even like that. It was like, fuck you. You did something. You're going to pay now, kind of thing. Like what you were telling me.
Exactly. You're just not in that mind space at that moment.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was thinking like, man, if I do this shit, this guy's gonna sue me. I better not. It's like, it happens. Yeah. But anyway, enough of that. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't want to go into it for certain reasons, but I think your approach on thing kind of sometimes people see that and they get scared. Like they're like, well, they're in a dojo, they're learning drills, but when they see it actually balls to the wall applied, they get that fear factor, like, oh shit, like that's what it looks like now that I'm doing these drills. In real life, this is what would happen. Like I'm getting the shit elbowed, jab to the eye. And I think a lot of people in martial arts, and I'm not, I don't want to stir a big shit storm or whatever, but they get scared of that. Like they're so used to doing. I mean, you use that Guru Atomic you were saying before. Like they're so used to doing it with their instructor. Like this is gonna happen. Jab to his eyes. Okay, well let's put the full pressure.
Yeah.
Even, right, most of my students are women, right? So like when I like teach, I do get like, I don't do it right away, but I will get aggressive. Like, oh, you know, I'll call them names and I'll get, oh, you know what I mean? Because in real life, if they get attacked by some dude at the bar or the parking lot, the guy's gonna be like, hey, you know, can you give me your purse? Ever? That guy's gonna be like, fuck you, you know what I mean? Give me your purse, you know, grabbing them and throwing, pushing them to the ground. So I do it in layers, like you say, Guru Tom. Like I don't do it right away.
Yeah.
I do it slowly. Yeah, I mean, like the first day of class, I'm not gonna fucking throw you on the ground. I'm like, you know, I'm gonna like teach you, like, you know,
yeah, you want them coming back, Brian.
But yeah, I know, my anger's come back. Sorry, but I think it's good that people see that, like that video, and they realize, like, you know, you're doing a lot of stuff that is gonna help somebody save somebody's life. I don't look at it negatively.
Yeah.
I look at it positively. Yeah, and some people, they just get like a scare, like, oh god, look at he's beating the shit out of that guy. They're gonna get hurt. They're gonna get hurt. Like, yeah, that's the whole thing. You get an eye busted open, and nose broken. Part of the training.
Definitely.
That's why I say it's a mindset. You know, it's a mindset thing. It's a mindset. It's a mentality thing. Yeah. And not everyone has got that mentality. You know, I realized that some of the best people in this field are people that got bullied when they were younger. Now I'm one of them. You know, I put my hand up, man. That's what made me into who I am today, man. You know, the mindset is something that's built, something that's forged with experiences and situations. And I think that, you know, some people are born with that mindset, and then some people are not born with it, but they create it, they build that mindset. You know? And so, like I said, you know, if you want to find realistic answers, then you have to take your training as close as possible to the real thing. And that's difficult. That is difficult to do and to stay safe. Do you know what I mean?
And it's good you did it in the cars, because if you were to do that shit like in a gym, like you put two chairs together and you're simulating you're in a car, like there's all kinds of room for you to move in, to cheat and get away with it. But when you're in the cab of that car, there's nowhere to go. You're stuck.
That's one thing that I like. You know, that's one thing that I like. I love to train in the working environment. So, for example,
you have to,
when I used to assist my father in Eastern Europe to provide training for the Lithuanian, it was the 2nd Regiment of Internal Forces of Lithuania, the military, the Lithuanian military. What we were doing is, at some point we were teaching in a jail, because some of the people we were training were a rapid reaction team inside like the big penitentiary in Vilnius, Lithuania.
Oh, yeah.
It does get dirty there.
And so that's where we trained. That is where we trained, because this is where the people that we train are working. So we had to put the training in their working environment to make it more realistic. Do you know what I mean? So it's all about reconstructing situations. And you know, you need a scenario, you need a theme, you need role players, you need kits, you need various things for it to work. You know, I think Lee Morrison is one of the best guys to teach you how to construct simulations and scenarios.
Okay.
It's all about the role play. It's all about the role play, the dialogue, the scripts, and all the things.
Okay. All right, Julien. Let's dial back a little bit. We have been talking about the eye jab.
Yep.
And I believe you've got Bob with you there. Is
there any
chance that you can do a demo on that eye jab?
Right. So there's going to be a difficulty for the eye jab at the moment, because I got a dislocated finger.
Oh shit.
So yeah,
we can simulate it.
I don't know if you can see. It's not looking great. So for that, that's going to be a bit difficult.
Even without getting in contact with Bob, at least for people to be able to see basically the motion.
Yeah, sure, I can try and do that for you, man.
Yeah, just don't hit Bob.
Yeah.
One sec. I'm gonna have to place the phone.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to place.
We have some more comments. Guru Tom while he's getting that set up.
Okay. Yeah.
Brett Reese. Yeah.
Can you see me? Because when I rotate, I can't see you anymore.
We can see you.
Can you see me there?
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay. The thing is, I can't see the picture, so I can't see. I can't. Can you see Barbara here?
Yeah, I
We can see it. Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, Brian,
Yeah.
I'm going to lower myself.
You lower me down too. Lower us all down, except for him.
Are you sure?
Yeah, lower me down too. Yeah, I don't need to be on there.
Is that okay here? Yeah. Is that centered enough?
Yep. Yep. We
Centered
can see.
enough.
We can see.
Right, when it comes to the eye jab, you know, it's really finding the right distance. You got different ways of attacking the eyes, okay? But really, the way that I was taught by Tommy Carruthers in Scotland was to throw it like a sword, you know, like a fencer that has a sword and that launch with a sword. That would be the same thing, but with the fingers, okay? So you would start from some sort of fencer stance. And that would be the eye jab. There. Do you know what I mean? And I would have the head movements that go with it. Because obviously, the guy is going to be punching me as well. So I need to be ready to skip that, maybe move under, and just throw my eye jabs from there. Do you know what I mean? So what I want really is about that much in his eyes. Yeah. Like I said, there's different ways to attack the eyes after, depending on where he's, depending on where I am. You know, sometimes it's just a knife flick. It could be, you know, if I'm dealing with that guy and that guy's there, that's a knife flick there. Depending on my position, do you know what I mean? That's where I would throw the eye jab. I only see angles, really. It's about angles and target. You know, if you think about more things than that, then you have too many things in your head. The only thing you should see is target and which angle you're going to use to get to the target. Now, the best way to get to the target is to draw a straight line from point A to point B. Point A being the weapon, point A being the weapon, point B being the target. Draw a straight line from that. It's going to be the easiest way to get to the target. So that's for the eye jab. Is there anything else you want me to show you? I think that Brian wanted to see a bit of knife stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Julien, can you move the camera a little bit towards your left side?
Towards this side.
Yes. Yep, that's it. Yep.
Is that better?
Yep, that's much better.
Okay. So, you know, the knife is a very, very big topic. The first thing I want to say is, you know, it's a good knowledge to have. You know, it's good to have it, not needing it. It's better to have it, not needing it, than not having it when you need it.
Yeah.
It's last resort. It's definitely last resort type of skill set. Because if you grab a blade, you know, you need to be ready to kill someone. And that's really, when it comes to mindset, do not grab a knife if you're not ready to kill someone, because what's going to happen is it's going to be taken from you and it's going to be used against you. So the mindset is very important. The skill set only follows after the mindset. So I always say you want your emotional software to be in place for your physical hardware to be working. So first skill set when it comes to the knife is access your blade, because every martial art teaches you to use the knife when it's already out, and the angles of cuts, the stabbing angles, but nobody teaches. I mean, people do, but it's only in the combatives. If you look in the martial art, they don't teach you how to access your blade, they only teach you how to use it. It's only in the combatives that they teach you to access your blade and then use it. Do you know what I mean? So you want to learn to access your weapon first before you can use it. So the way that I teach it, the way that it's being taught, you know, there's different ways. But basically, the first movement is to lift your shirt as high as possible. Second movement, pin the blade, grab it. Third movement, pull the blade out, point it towards the target. Fourth, strike, come back. Scan for threat. Maybe there is further threats. You always need to be scanning for threats. That would be the first skill set that I teach to people. where we're here, we're talking, and he might be trying to access his weapon. So I'm accessing my weapon and I'm striking first. Okay? The skill set here is simple. I'm just going for the eyes. Yeah? I just want to pick the eye. So I'm there. Up, up, boom. Just pick the eye there. I'm just stalking. I got my fence here. Okay, my fence is the way that I control the space between me and the person, so that I don't find myself here really close. Where here, if he wants to do something from there, he could knock me out from there. You know, it's really close. So what you want to do is control this space there, and then learn to access your blade and strike. Scan for threats again. Simple stuff. Maybe you're dealing with this guy, and this guy is here. You see him accessing his blade, so all of a sudden you grab. Yeah, I messed that one up a little bit. We're there. Hook, boom, strike, scan. Yeah. This would be the first skill set. Once you learn to access your blade, then you can go entry. So there would be an entry, a follow-up, and a finish. We always think about beginning, middle, end. Okay, beginning is here when I'm too far to touch him. Middle, I'm here, I'm accessing my blade. Yeah, and I'm striking, for example. Yeah, if I was to use an entry from here, well, I'm going to do something. Access the blade here. I access the blade, and I'm coming here to the side. Now I apply footwork to get on his outside. Well, now I can control, and I can use different, different ways. Once again, the only thing I see are targets and angles. Yeah. After, in terms of the knife itself, the skill set, there are different ways to hold the knife. You got hammer grip, reverse hammer grip, ice pick grip, reverse ice pick grip, and there are many things you can do from there. You know, the basics is learning all the angles. You know, the 12 angles on the clock. But once you know that, then you can work. You can work puncture, stab. So if I'm here and I was going to trap that hand, he's got some sort of boxing position here because I put some a piece of string here.
Yeah.
His arm too, because otherwise his arms are quite open.
Yeah, it's too wide.
I like his arm to be closed, so that now I can work on how to get through his guard in order to get through his neck. Vital points here: carotid, jugular. Yeah, that's what I want to go for. Ideally, I want to put the blade in here, and I want to rip the trachea.
Yep.
I want to take the trachea completely out. Yeah. If I had to negotiate his hands before I got that, maybe I have to trap. So maybe I'm there. Yeah. I'm here. Trap. And I'm there doing something else. If I had to maybe go there, hook, go there, hook, cut, come back with this. It's all the different zones after that you go for. Or in priority, what you want to get.
Yeah.
You want to put him out of commission as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Create maximum damage in as less time as possible. So the difference between combative and martial arts, for example, where in martial arts, look at the Filipino where they're going to teach you the different
flashing
angles. Do you know what I mean? There, and this is all very martial arty. This is all very nice movements. Do you know what I mean? But in combative, it would be more. As soon as I get to there, I'm here. I don't need all that fancy stuff. All I need is to put as many holes in him as possible in as less time as possible.
Guns, yeah.
So it's not about the beauty. It's about efficiency. It's about results.
The thing is, if you're basically like using knives and you're protecting your life with it, you don't have time to be all beautiful with it or aesthetic with it. It's dirty.
There's no point.
There's no point. Yeah.
It's all about, look, for example, if you wanted to maximize the damage as much as possible after a stab. So imagine if I was just stabbing there and I was coming back and I was coming back, that would just be a puncture. Of course, it would create a lot of damage. If I wanted to maximize that damage, what would I do? I would put the blade in and rip
it out. Yes, exactly.
I want to aggravate the wound. I call that wound aggravation.
Make it bigger.
Once the blade is here, am I wrench the blade, or am I steer the blade, or am I rip?
Yeah.
Same thing here. if I get the femoral, I'll pick the femoral and I'll rip that.
Yeah, that's
Same
true.
thing here, the inner arm here. I will actually stab the armpit.
The armpit.
Not,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
this
yeah,
one, the elbow
yeah,
pit. Yeah.
yeah.
I will actually stab it and rip it. And when I rip it, I will use my whole body weight. So I
Yes,
don't have to use the strength of my arm.
yes,
Stab the armpit, break.
yeah.
There.
That's true.
Same thing if I'm here. Stab here, break. Yeah?
Right. Yeah.
I'm here, break, then come back. For example, I could stand here, break. Okay, all his intestines are coming out now. Yeah? It's all about wound aggravation, mate.
Yeah.
It's really what it is.
It's actually good that what's this? You're using your body weight to create the damage.
Absolutely. Same thing if I was going to go there and I wanted to use the whole blade to scratch his face down, rather than use the strength of my arm, I would just be there and drop my body weight.
Yeah.
This is big secret in martial arts. If you learn to use your body weight, even with weapons, at first you learn to use your body weight when you box, for example, where you here you throw your jab and you step with that jab because you want your power to be behind that jab. Same thing in Jeet Kune Do with the straight lead, where you're here, you want your body weight to be falling behind that punch.
That's true. Okay. I'm just gonna quickly bring Brian back.
All right, no problems.
There you go.
I'm back from the dead. How's it going? Yeah, that was some great stuff. Some of the power assisting stuff is kind of like the Sayok, or that Sayok, the power assisting, like the dragging the blade like that.
Say again, Brian.
Oh, it said some of the power assisting with the blade, like you're doing, like you're going across. So that's a lot of Sayok Cali, like for the movie The Hunted, with Tommy Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro. A lot of the power. That's a lot of the stuff from Sayok from the assisting power assist like that. That was great stuff. A lot of stuff I see like that is like I said, there's no time for fancy shit. It's all about functionality.
Yeah.
Same thing with fighting in real life. I mean, there's no time for like, well, I think I'm gonna, go down, do an arm bar, and lock it. Like, whatever works. It doesn't have to look pretty. I'm all about functionality. I think that was great. It was a great demo.
Cheers,
Hoping
man.
your finger more doing that.
Yeah, the finger is not in the best not in the best shape at the moment.
I do have a question. I want your thoughts on it. And I know a lot of people. It's a big topic. You probably heard it before. Caused a lot of controversy every time people bring it up. Is knife defense? What's your thoughts on knife defense? And what do you think like works? What doesn't work? Or for you anyway?
Right. Well, first of all, I'll tell you one thing. I'm being very careful of which word I use, and I try to research the etymology of certain words, because if you know about neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, okay, then the way that you communicate to yourself, it needs to be on point. It needs to be very powerful. You need to believe in your own words.
Yeah.
And basically, if you speak about knife defense, just forget about the word knife for now and just let's focus on the word defense. The word defense means that you are actually defending against something that's already being done to you. So you're actually, when you're defending, very often you are reacting.
Yeah.
And when you are reacting, you are losing.
You're losing.
Like Lee Morrison says, the art of defending is the art of losing. So basically what I'm trying to say is that if you speak about knife defense, then the only thing you're talking about is how to stop somebody that's throwing a stab at you, launch style, or an ice pick like that, or that is knife defense. And I don't believe in that word, because there is no knife defense. We're talking about preservation. We're talking about damage limitation. We're not talking about knife defense. Because the truth is that if you got somebody, the knife on its own is not the weapon. The knife is an instrument. The real weapon is the intention to cause deadly harm.
Exactly.
But when you deal with somebody that's got a blade, the blade is dangerous, but it's just a tool. It's an extension of the real weapon. The real weapon is his consciousness. So the best way to deal with an armed assailant is to knock him the fuck out. Do you know what I mean? It's just how it should be. So when you think about knife defense, I like to call it the same as leaders, counter weapon tactics, counter knife tactics. Yeah. Well, now we're not only having a look at the in-fight confrontation with a knife, because very often it's too fucking late. You got already stabbed and slashed. You know what I mean? So what you want basically is to focus on the 3 times, okay? The before, the during, and after. And then you realize that you got different types of knife threats, okay? You got the type of knife threat before the blade is actually out. Yeah. So you got the type of knife threat where the person first has to approach you. The person first, the assailant, first has to deceptively approach you using predatory encroachment tactics, approach tactics. Okay. Either it's going to come out of an interview or out of an ambush. But the thing is that if you got good situational awareness, if you got good environmental awareness, situational awareness, good personal awareness, good observational skills, you understand you got a good understanding of pre-threat cue behavior, which means that you can spot the precursor signs before something actually happens. Then now you got much more chances to be able to deal with that armed challenge before the blade has been deployed, before the blade has been accessed. That is your best chance of success, is to deal with the knife before it's out. Yeah, that would be the first thing. Now let's say the next thing is maybe the blade is on you. Yeah, the guy's holding you and he's got a blade under your throat and he's demanding your wallet or your car keys or your phone. Well, the thing is that if you allowed somebody that close to you and you've not even seen him, your awareness is not very good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's like Lee Morrison says, it's not Star Trek. People do not materialize out of thin air. There is a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
And so the end is really what everybody else focuses on when it comes to counter blade tactics, is the end. Everybody focuses on the guy already got the knife and he's coming at you with the firm intent to cause deadly harm and send you straight to the morgue.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be very, very difficult to deal with that. Trust me. And the way that you want to train this sort of thing is we use plastic bottles, small plastic bottles, empty plastic bottles, so that we can go full contact without hurting each other too much. And the way that we do is, I'll give you the plastic bottle and I'm like, right, come at me any way you want. Don't tell me what you're going to do, and do it with intent. Do it with aggression. That will change the whole dynamic of everything. And so, that's the thing. But people forget to focus on the beginning and the middle before focusing on the end. Because the last type of knife threat is when the knife is out and in play. And that's very, very difficult to deal with. So, there is not one method that will offer a foolproof method.
Yeah.
Because you got people of different skill set, different level of combative maturity. I know for a fact, if you give me a knife, I will challenge anyone to try and stop me. If I have a knife, it's pretty fucked. Do you know what I mean? So I know that if there are some people like that, I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people like that can use weapons. Imagine you end up in front of somebody like this. Are you going to try all these arms and all this stuff?
No.
And that's why I said to you, I'm very aware of what sort of language I use. And what it's like when people speak about knife disarm. I'm like, dude, if you ever manage to disarm a knife even once in your lifetime, you're very, very lucky. I would never put my bare hands on a blade.
Yeah.
Even if it's on the others. I mean, you know what I mean? It's not the weapon that you want to disarm. It's his intention. It's not the knife. It's the real weapon, and the real weapon is his consciousness.
Yes.
I want to break his will.
So-
Yeah.
So technically, in terms of the skill set that we use in combatives, that we use different types of skill set. But what we want is to fend the blade, and we want to hurt him on the way. So we want to fend the blade with the elbow in such a way that when the guy tries and stab you, he actually hurts himself. And then from there, you wanna try and apply a 2-on-1 control. Okay, we said 2-on-1 because we mean 2 hands on 1 limb. Okay, but it could be more than 2-on-1. I mean, it could be 2 hands on 1 limb and then control with the head, and then control with the knee, with the low line, control the low line as well. You could crush him against a wall, which offers you another point of control now.
Yes, that's
There's
true.
so many things that you can do when you start thinking in terms of concepts and principles rather than thinking in terms of technique.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the principle is quite simple. Bend the blade, apply a 2-on-1, and then blitz him with everything else available. If it's your teeth, use your teeth. If it's your head, use your head. If it's your knees,
I thought Guru Dean would be in the comments because he's all big on the knife defense stuff. I thought he was. I was going to see him. Guru Dean, he's the one who was an admin of the FMA discussion. He's also one of my other instructors. I thought he's real big on the knife defense stuff and the talking about it. So I thought he was going to be in the comments. But I agree with you on that. It's very hard. I mean, you have to pressure test that stuff as well too. So, a lot of people don't do it. So it's just all theory. But I guess as far as like you said, the realistic thing of like the intent and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, when you're fighting for your life, you're going to be biting, you'll be doing anything you can, just kind of to get out of that situation. But that's like a controversial topic, especially like on this forum. Like the knife defense stuff, everybody has their own opinion of what you should do, and this system does that, this system does that, disarm.
Just put it in the lab. There's a lot of people we could be talking, and that's one thing, we could be debating for hours about what works and what doesn't. It's quite simple. Just put the protections on and just go for it and see what works and what doesn't.
Exactly, pressure test it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way you'll be able to find out.
That's like the key of like this whole interview is like not enough people like are pressure testing stuff. Like it's just like I call it theory because like it's like you say it's gonna work, but if you don't tell you test it. Even now with like the Piper stuff, like we're doing, like we're starting to like test with helmets and going. We're gradually incrementing our pressure when we test now to see what works and what doesn't.
You need to use protections, man. That's very important as well. Make sure that it's safe using protection, because when you train at that level of intensity, it's very easy to injure yourself. I'm injuring myself as well. You know what I mean? It comes with that. Everything comes with a price. But when you train in combatives to a certain level of intensity, then you need to be really careful not to damage yourself, not to injure yourself and not to injure your partner as well.
Yeah. And I think you need to have the correct level of protection.
Yes.
Because even like, for example, the headgear that you use, I mean, if it is only a plain boxing headgear,
you can still get knocked out through it.
Elbow, that's not enough.
I got my eardrum busted one time with I had a helmet on, and somebody they slapped me like, "Pow!" And I was like, "Oh shit, my ear!"
Yeah, that's true.
I couldn't hear out there for a while. I was like, So I personally like. I know this is totally off topic, but when I went to this last seminar with Professor Jack Hoffman with Professor Joe, and he, as soon as he started a seminar, it's like, you got a cup on, you got safety glasses, you got scars. I was like, because I trained him, online with him before, and even online when he was doing the, you're getting hit, like punched in the balls, in the head. He's like, you got to have all. I was like, I got everything right here. So we bought it, and I had some girl kick me in the nuts, and and she like punched me in the face.
Quite a lot as well.
Yeah, so I was like, and he understands the value of protection. Like he's like, you got to protect your hands and everything. And a lot of instructors don't do that. A lot of instructors don't have the eye protection, and it restricts your training because you can't really do a whole lot because you're afraid. Am I going to jab this guy's eyeball out? Am I going to punch his teeth out? The mouth guard. Like I wear a mouth guard.
Yeah.
You got to have all that stuff. Otherwise, you're not going to get the most out of your training.
You need to think about preserving your body. I mean, I've seen a few accidents happen through the years. Different places where I've been training. Now, people got kicked in the groin. Even at some point, we were training and people had goggles, and we were training to throw eye jabs, and one guy's eye jab came right on the
goggle.
Yeah. So you need to be careful with all this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know that already.
You need to have the appropriate protection as well, because at the end of the day, you have to protect yourself from.
But when you see a lot of videos, you don't see people wearing eye protection. You don't see people wearing mouth guards. It's just
it's not glamorous, Brian.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
Nah, just kidding aside, but yeah, you have to make sure that you wear the right protection.
That's very important.
Yeah.
If you want to train on the long run, that is.
Yeah, I mean, there was one time we, because we do run like a similar course, so we already have like a medium level of whole body protection.
Okay.
The moment the person, like for example, because most of my students are like bigger than me, and they can derive more force with their body, I can still feel everything passing through me. So at night, I was like, "Oh yeah, okay."
Take a bubble bath.
Conditioning.
Especially the neck. Every time that you're basically your head get bashed and everything,
you get the whiplash. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're gonna feel it.
So that is why
wear the go-kart brace.
Yeah, so that's what we use actually in UC, because we make our own headgear in UC in Urban Combatives, because as Lee says, through the years training, we realized that there is no even if you look at the Predator suit, Bill Kipp Predator suit, which was one of the first suit that could really take a full shot, straightforward full shot to the head, and the whole body would go as a unit because of the structure of the suit. There wouldn't be that whiplash. Now, if you look at Spartan suits, which are basically a copy of Tony Blauer's high gear suits, which are really good. I think they're really good suits, but once again, it won't take full force impact to the head, especially on the side. It will not go. So what Lee did, and his lads, was to create a helmet out. I think it was American football helmet with a skull cap on it, and he added a neck brace, and he put it all together with some judo matting around it, and taped it all up. It's been working pretty well, because you don't get this.
Yeah, that's one of the worst part actually of wearing that particular suit.
Yeah.
So the first time I wore it, I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, I can take this on." And then the next thing you know, I get okay.
Yeah, I said the same thing when I got that RDX groin protector. I was like, I could take a kick to the balls. This fucking kicked me in the nuts, and I was like, oh fuck.
we modified the groin guards as well, so that we can actually put a bit more power in there when we do the stress test. So yeah, there is a way to modify your groin kicks so that it really takes a considerable amount of impact from it. Right. Obviously, you need to learn how to ride it as well. Learning to wear the armor is a skill set of its own.
I'm about to get some old
that's true.
Tape on there.
That's actually true. You need to learn how to ride it. Yeah. That's why, especially if you're the one wearing it, you also need to learn how to adjust. Should I basically resist this, or should I just ride it?
Yeah,
exactly. Oh man. So I got couple of final questions for you. I know we're coming up like an hour and a half already. What's your future goals with Adrenaline Combatives? Where do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself going with the future of Adrenaline Combatives and yourself? Like, what are your future goals? Like, as far as what you want to achieve? Like,
well, that will really depend. That will really depend on what what opportunities are presented to me by the universe. But just put it that way, I think that I always wanted to teach full time. I always wanted to do that full time. My goal is to really do what Lee Morrison did for years, which is to teach abroad, to teach seminars a bit everywhere, all around the world, see the world, help people that need my help. And that's really where I see myself. Like I said, it really depends of what the universe has in store for me. But things are looking good. Things are looking good slowly but surely. I'm building a little following.
And if basically like people want to learn from you, online or face to face, how do they get in touch with you?
Okay, so right now we're working on the website. My friend, one of my students' friends, he's doing my website for me. So we're working on that at the moment. Hopefully, it should get online at the end of this year, maybe beginning of next year. And on there will be access to all my video tutorials, because I got over 40 hours of video tutorials that I'm going to remaster them, by the way. So I'm going to add more stuff to it. But I'm going to have a lot of different services on there. I'm going to have different modules as well. I'm going to aim for corporate work as well, if I can. Do you know what I mean? Because I got ideas for taxi companies, for railway companies, for airway companies, fighting from a seated position and then all that sort of thing. Yeah. So there's that. There's going to be obviously a lot of seminars. I teach one monthly in Manchester area. And hopefully,
you go. I can attest. Like, I'm gonna plug you again for testimonial. I just barely started training with him a couple sessions ago, and he's excellent teacher. Everything gets broken down to you where you can. Even if you don't have a martial arts background, it's understandable. Obviously, I do already. So a lot of stuff I can understand a lot of stuff he's teaching me already. But you do offer privates as well. I know I'm do privates with you.
Yeah, I do privates. I do online privates. Obviously, for people that are in the UK that are not too far to travel, I do private, like face to face, and I also do like Teams. How it's called, Microsoft Teams sessions as well, like I'm doing with you, Brian.
Yeah. So just a couple of sessions, like. My striking is, has gone up, a lot, which some of the techniques he showed me. And I'm hoping that, eventually you'll open up like chapters in the United States, like where, you'll.
I really hope so. Yeah, that's the goal.
I'd be definitely down to to open up something once I get more advanced, open up something here in the United States. Cause I really believe in what he's teaching. And I don't really do that with a lot of people. I know I represent, the FMA system here from my FMA system for the Philippines. Through my old instructor, PM Allen, and also, the C-Lot, I'm learning, and then hopefully when I get enough in Piper, I can open up a chapter of Piper as well. But yeah, I like to see you grow in the United States, because I think a lot of people can learn a lot of stuff.
I got the feeling that there's definitely gonna be some things to do in the US, because people in the US, the stuff that I do is going to be more relevant to people that can actually arm themselves. Do you know what I mean? So that's why the Americans are always gonna like the stuff that I do, because it's very weapon based, it's very mindset based, and there's no limit. There's no limit to what I am ready to do in my head in order to stay alive. There's no limit.
Yeah.
So there's no limit in terms of the skill set that I will use, as long as it works and it saves my life. It's going to be there.
Yeah.
So in the UK, people might be a bit, that guy, the stuff he teaches is a bit too crazy. I have to water it down. I mean, I don't water it down, but I have to just avoid talking about weaponry a bit too much in this country. And,
Yeah.
and just focus on the hand-to-hand combat aspect of things. But I do a lot of weaponry as well, and I work with firearms as well. I mean, not real ones because I'm in the UK, unfortunately, but I have worked with real firearms in the past with my father, and I will do some more in the future because I think it's a very important skill set to have. All the QB, everyone should be able to operate any handgun, any revolver, any shotgun, and any rifle. You should at least have the basics. So I think this is very important for everyone. But like I said, in the UK, there is only so much I can do in terms of what I teach. But I know that, in the US, I've always known that. And I can see already I have quite a lot of following in the US already, more I think in the US than in Europe. That says a lot.
Yeah, the tomahawk video you sent me, that was a great video. Great module. The tomahawk one you sent me.
Oh, the tomahawk, yeah. That was basics. That was very, very basic stuff.
Right.
But that's what people need to, mastery. Yeah. When people say, "Oh, mastery," this guy's a master. Mastery is mastery of the fundamentals, of the foundations. And I don't really like the word master because it's, to me, I mean, that's just me. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just the way that I see things. I think that any title is ego gratifying, Sifu, Sensei, Grandmaster, Hanshi. When people call me master, I'm like, just call me Julien. That's it, simple human being, Julien. I'm still learning. I'm no, because when there is a master, there is a slave. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just a word, isn't it? I am nobody's master. Certainly, I am nobody's master. You know what I mean?
Okay. There's a question here by Brett. My question is weird, but forgive me. What are your thoughts on the thumb in interaction concerning checking, grabbing, etc.?
The thumb?
Yeah, the thumb.
The
Brett,
thumb.
yeah. Would you be able to expound on your question, please? Yeah. What are your thoughts on the thumb in interaction concerning checking, grabbing, etc.?
He's talking about using the pinch grip on it.
I've had mine hyperextending enough to ignore it.
Right. You need to be careful with your thumb because it's easily broken. Okay. You can easily break your thumb when you try and grab people, especially with the adrenaline and the way that you grab people. So, for example, in UC, when we teach to index the target, so if you were to have, if you had to throw a preemptive strike, so that is, of course, if all the attempt of avoidance and escape has failed, your attempt of de-escalation has failed, and now there is a need for things to become physical, at which point you might throw a preemptive shot and you will attach the subject. When you attach the subject, the way that we teach it in UC is we teach to attach the subject thumbless grip, so without the thumb, to avoid to basically minimize the risk of breaking your thumb when you're grabbing people or when you're checking things. I mean, I've broken fingers. Even right now, I got dislocated finger here. It happens, or this sort of thing happens when you train at a certain level of intensity. But yeah, you need to watch your fingers, man. You need to be careful. So yeah, if that, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, he
said yes.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. This has been great, man. I appreciate. I know it's late over there, so I want to cut you loose on there, but I'm glad we got to have you on, and I hope a lot of people take a lot from this interview and don't just kind of discard it and see what you're doing and kind of take some stuff in there into consideration, like what you're talking about, because you have some really great stuff, and definitely look forward to the next session we have together training. Guru Tommy, any final thoughts?
No, just basically, this is a standard question that basically we throw on our guests. What are your advice or words of wisdom for the FMA community?
For the FMA community?
Yeah, or combatives community in general.
Just any community, yeah.
Both of them.
Okay. Well, if I had a very limited amount of time, with a student and I had to give them something real, something that they can take already after 40 minutes with me. If I only had 1 hour with someone, I would, rather than teach them many things, you know, physical thing, I would just focus on one physical tool. Yeah. But before that, I would give them knowledge, a bit more knowledge on self-protection, okay, how to better personal security habits, how to get rid of bad habits, and how to create new healthy habits, okay? There are certain books that are good to read, like Left of Bank, like The Art of War, okay? There's some really good books out there that will, if you really understand what has been written in them books, will make you a harder target. This really what it's about. You want to think about the beginning, middle, and end. As I said before, the beginning is left of bang, bang being the event, bang being the bomb, the shooting, the stabbing, or the person trying to punch you. Left of bang is what's happening before the event, and right of bang is what's happening after the event. So the best form of self-protection is to gather the skill set that will allow you to see things before they happen, to spot pre-threat indicators, to understand predatory behavior, to understand predatory hierarchy, for example. That in each group there is an alpha, or there's more than one. Sometimes there's more than one alpha, but very often there is an alpha, then there are followers, and then there are mices, or you can call them beta and gammas, okay? So understanding how these operate, how you would deal with the alpha very demonstratively, very visually, so that you deal with him physically, and at the same time you deal with his mates on a psychological level. So it's understanding all the psychological aspect of combat as well. Never show that you're tired, never show that you're afraid, never show that you're hurt. Do you know what I mean? You gotta deal with the thing right there and then. So we speak about state management and state access in UC. State management would be learning to manage your current mental, emotional, and physical state at the moment, so that you're the most efficient possible at what you're doing, which is fighting. So you have to learn to manage your pain, fear, fatigue, disorientation, confusion, all adrenaline, all these things that come into play, that you have to learn to recognize. You have to recognize the effect of adrenaline, for example. Narrowing of the peripheral field of vision, hyperventilation, decrease of decision-making ability, decrease of fine motor skills, uncontrollable shaking of the limbs, time distortion, auditory exclusion, and the cognitive shift that happens where you go from neocortex, prefrontal lobe, to limbic system, reptilian brain, where you're basically fighting for your life. So if you learn all these physiological factors and you learn how adrenaline feels like, so that you don't confuse adrenaline with fear, then you already have maximized your chances to deal with a violence encounter. Do you know what I mean? So state management is basically managing your state so that you can retain your combative state. And then what we speak about is state access. Now, when you have learned to manage your state, your mental, emotional, physical state, you will now learn to access your mental, emotional, and physical state, okay? And that would be learning to access high level of aggression on switch, yeah? You should have a switch built up in your head so that when you go on, you become this antisocial animal, killer instinct. You will do whatever is necessary to survive. And when you flick that switch off again, you just become that nice and gentle and caring being and person that you are every day. Do you know what I mean? So learning to access aggression on a switch like that, okay? Learning to access explosive non-telegraphic movements fueled by aggression and mindset and mentality. Learn to access the mindset that it takes to do whatever it takes to prevail and to win. Also learn to access high level of observation, in-fight observation. Because when you're fighting with somebody, very often the tunnel vision, you will be completely focused on the person in front of you, and very often you will be oblivious to what's happening on the sides. And very often you will be attacked from the flank. So we have some drills, for example, that are designed to stress you, to adrenalize you, but at the same time, we have people running around with different weapons, and you have to deal with that guy in front of you doing the pads, and at the same time, you have to look left and right, and when the guy comes there with a knife, you have to shout, knife, stick, gun. Do you know what I mean? So that teaches you to keep your peripheral field of vision, to keep your observation, to maintain high level of observation while you are fighting. So we call that in-fight observation. So state management and state access, two very important aspects of combative psychology. As I said to you before, you have to have your emotional software operational in order for your physical hardware to be operational. In other words, if your head is not right, if you have not built the right mindset in your head, you will freeze. Once your heart rate goes above 175 beats per minute, you will go through a state of mental and emotional and physical freeze.
Yeah.
We always speak about the free F: fight, flight, or freeze.
Yep.
If you freeze, the chances are that you're going to die. If your life depends on it, if your family's life depends on it, and you allow yourself to freeze, that's over.
Yeah.
So the most important is to maintain the heart rate below a certain threshold in order to retain cognitive functions to a certain degree, so that you can retain your motor functions to a certain degree.
Yeah. That's true.
Because when the cognitive shift occurs, roughly about 90 beats per minute to 100 beats per minute, this is when you start feeling all the effects, all the physiological effect, the physiological factors of adrenaline. The amygdala is here. It sends a signal to the adrenal glands, and then you have different types of adrenal releases. You know, you have slow release, fast release, early release, late release. You know, you got double release, triple release. You know, it really depends what sort of situation you're going through. So it's learning how to when I say personal awareness on the top of situational awareness and environmental awareness, it really means, like Sun Tzu used to say in The Art of War, you have to know yourself as much as you know the enemy. Know yourself, know the enemy, and always dictate the battleground. Never allow the enemy to dictate the battleground. So by knowing yourself, and that's where you train. That's when we train hard. Know that you can take a punch and keep moving forward. Know how taking a punch is going to make you feel. Know the difference. There's two types of people in the world. This type of people, when they got punched, they're gonna cry, spit out some blood, and put their hands up and say they don't want anymore. And then there is the type of person that's gonna get punched, they're gonna spit some blood, and they're gonna turn into the devil, mate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
So it's all about cultivating this mindset, okay? And by mindset, I mean that you have to cultivate this supra state. You've heard of David Goggins?
Yes. Yeah, you were talking about before, yeah.
David Goggins, that have done some amazing things just by becoming Goggin. Do you remember?
Yeah.
That was his alter ego, his supra state. When he was becoming his alter ego, there was no task that he couldn't achieve. Yeah? So it's all about creating this superhero in your head, creating this supra state, this alter ego image that you will access when you need it. It doesn't mean that this is who you are every day. No, it's who you are prepared to be in order to do whatever is necessary to stay alive and keep your family alive. So it's basically, you know, it's like you tell yourself, right, when I hit that switch on, I become my supra state. I become my alter ego, and nothing can get me. You know what I mean? Even if it's not true, it's irrelevant. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant. What is relevant is that you believe it to be true. Because if you believe it to be true, then it's operational in your head. Then your head is in the right space. Then you have activated the emotional software, so that now the physical hardware can be operational and work full capacity. Do you know what I mean? So it's all very important to focus on, you know, on the psychology of everything. And not only that, you know, you want to focus on a bit of criminology as well, understanding the different criminal archetype, understanding the different criminal motivations. So very often when it comes to criminal motivation, I speak about three main motivations. Either they are after your properties, either they're after your body, or they're after your life. or all three of them sometimes. So after also, you know, using the OODA loop, using the tools that we've been given from certain really cool people from the US Army, like Colonel John Boyd, you know, Colonel Jeff Cooper with a color code. This is all really interesting stuff. Understanding how your thought process happens and how to make it quicker, how to make your OODA loop quicker so that you can respond quicker than the assailant. Yeah. And you know, I always say action beats reaction, and that's very important to understand, because when you react, you're defending. When you're responding, you are being proactive. So let me rephrase it. When you are reacting, you are using a reactive physical dynamic. When you are responding to a stimuli and not reacting, now you are using a proactive physical dynamic, which means that you
get more intelligent response. Yeah,
that is it, bro. Because you got more time to come up with the right answer. The thing is that when you react, you're rushing. When you're rushing, you're forgetting things, and you're not always doing things right.
Yeah.
So it's very important to learn how to build this default response. And in combatives, you know, everything that, in terms of the physical skill set, everything that we train is very, very simple. The toolbox is strictly gross motor skills that are very easily applied and retained by the limbic system when you go reptilian brain.
Yeah.
So this is the physical aspect, which is very, very simple, principle-based, and backed up by mentality and mindset. And that's the biggest thing that people need to work on when it comes to combat training for the real life, you know, for the life or death situation, is you want to build a mindset. I know I'm a very spiritual guy, by the way. You know, I got my crystals here, I got my Buddhas everywhere, I burn some sage, I meditate, I do breath work, you know, I mean, as much as I can, really. You know, I'm not doing it as much as I should, but, you know, I believe in helping people. But at the same time, I have built this entity inside my head. It's in the prison of my mind. It's in the prison. I don't let it loose. It's always in the prison unless I open the gate.
It's like
when I open that gate, anything that is in front of me is going to die. So it's not who I am every day, because I'm a nice person and I love people. I really do. You know, I love people. I love everyone. I love nature. I love life. Do you know what I mean? But if anyone dares try to take from me what I love the most, I know what I'm ready. I know what I'm capable of. And I have been preparing myself not only on the physical level, but on a mental, emotional, psychological level to deal with the worst case scenario, which means all the way up to deadly force and having to take a life. So like Lee Morrison says, there is 4 questions that are very, very interesting, very difficult question to ask yourself, but I think that everyone should ask these questions to themselves at least once in their lifetime. And that is, what am I ready to live for? What do I live for? Yeah. Question number 1. Number 2, what am I ready to fight for? Number 3, what am I ready to die for? Number 4, what am I ready to kill for? Okay. If you think carefully about all these questions, you will realize that the answer is the same to all these questions. Very often it's what you love the most. Okay. Whether it's your daughter, your little boy, your wife, husband, sister, brother, dog, turtle, goldfish, whatever it is, mate.
You're gonna go John Wick on them.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. You know, so once you build this line in the sand in your head, you know that when anyone decides to cross this line, boom, you got the game plan. You got it in your head. I like to use neuro-linguistic programming in different ways. I'm very much into mysticism and, you know, ancient magical practice, esoteric practices. And I think that NLP self-hypnosis and neuro-linguistic programming are derived from old school esoteric
Yes, they are.
occult practices.
Yes, they are.
And so when you look at this, it's all about visualization, the mind's eye, where you can visualize things. And the way that I do is I visualize, you know, if you're a DJ, you'll know what I'm talking about. You got your mixing tables with all these, yeah, check it out, one sec. Can you see this? So imagine where now you have your deck in your mind, you visualize your deck, and each button has got a function, okay? Imagine if we could regulate your happiness just by the touch of a dial. Imagine if you could regulate your anger. When you start feeling angry, you lower it down in order to deal with that anger, so that it doesn't blind you, so that you don't see the red mist and start doing mistakes that you will regret all your life. Imagine if you could, when you train, for example, that's something that's been created by what is his name, Michael Van Beek from the US. Focus self-protection, I can't remember how it's called, focus counter-violence, I think it's called. And he created something that we use in UC called the attribute equalizer, where now when we train something new, we train a new skill set. Imagine that you have this mixing deck in your head, and you got one dial for the speed, one dial for the power, one dial for the body mechanics, and one dial for the aggression. That's 4 dials, okay? And so when we train a new skill set, what we do is we lower the speed right from 100% to 25%, and we lower the power right from 100% to 25%. But we keep the body mechanic to 100%, and we keep the aggression to 100%. Which means that we start to work things a little bit slower with less power, but the intent is still there. It's all about wiring. It's all about neuromotor programming, neural pathways. Okay, you're building tiny little bridges from your neurons to your tool. Yeah. So the best way to do that is to do it slowly, so that you trace the bridges nice and properly, and you know there is economy of motion, economy of time, space, and you know, and all the rest. And so when you do that, you're cutting the neural pathways properly, and then gradually you add the speed up. You go from 25 to 50 to 75 to 100%.
Yeah,
and then when I ask my student to go 100%, what I do is we use the Etch-a-Sketch analogy. Do you remember Etch-a-Sketch when you were a kid? You used to draw things on it.
One, yes.
Yeah? So what we do is, after we ask our student to give us 100%, we tell them, right, okay, well, if that was your best, you just died. You just died, and now if your family was with you, they just died. And we try to get them to imagine how their family is gonna have to deal with their death. You know, I even ask them all the way to think about, right, if you're not there anymore, you're not going to be able to take your missus to dinner. You're not going to be able to lay in bed with your missus, with the people that you love. You're not going to be able to hug your kids anymore. You're not going to be able to go to the cinema, to the pub. You're not going to be able to do none of that thing. That's you. But then imagine how your family is going to feel about it. Your wife is going to feel devastated that you're gone. You imagine your children, how they're going to feel if you're gone. That is gone. That is not coming back. Fuck. That's going to be a big shock on them. Yeah. Now think even further. You're not going to be there to provide anymore. They might have to sell the house. They might have to move in a shitty neighborhood where your kids are going to have to go to a shitty school where they're going to get bullied. And do you know what I mean? I get them to imagine as many details as possible, so that they access that aggression. That aggression will come from something called righteous indignation. Not anger, righteous indignation. Righteous indignation is basically when you're like, right, I was just minding my own business with my family, and that person decided to threat me, to threat my life and the life of my family. You know, and in your head, you should be, how fucking dare you threat me and my family?
About that, yeah.
The thing is, you cannot experience 2 emotions at the same time. It's impossible. Okay, so you cannot be pissed off and afraid at the same time. And to be honest with you, in that point, it's better to be pissed off than to be afraid.
Yeah, exactly.
So you see, it's all about how the psychology works, how you access. And so when I get them to imagine all this, after I ask them to give me 100% in their last rep, and I tell them, you just died, now imagine how your family would deal with it. And now if I gave you a chance to go back 5 or 10 seconds before you died, and I gave you a last chance to do better as best as you can, so that you end up staying alive and keep your family alive now, how much better are you going to do now? And then I get them to do another rep. And that's when I ask them to access the supra state, the alter ego state. And then every time, bro, I promise you, every time when they do the pad work or when they do the drill, and I ask them to give me 100%, they all give me what they think is their 100%. And after, with the HSKH analogy and the death and the rebirth, I get them to do even better than their 100%. And everybody's scratching their head thinking, shit, I actually hit that part much harder. Yeah, because now I added content. Now I added the intent. I created the need for you to learn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not only about what we teach to our student, but how we teach it. It's neural-based learning. This is the computer. This is the hard drive. How do we put information in there? Information that is going to be applied when needed. So you see, for example, there is even 5 levels when it comes to mastery, when it comes to learning something new. Okay, the first phase is the stage of unconscious incompetence, where you are incompetent and you don't even know it, because you've never been told, you never tried. You're like, oh shit, I didn't even know I couldn't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that would be a state of unconscious incompetence. Now, by telling somebody that they are incompetent at something, you are quickly taking their level from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence, where now they are incompetent and now they know that they are incompetent. Do you know what I mean? So he went from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence. Now with enough rep, with enough training, with enough high quality training, it will go from conscious incompetence to conscious competence, where now you are competent, but now you have to think about it. It's still a conscious process. It still has to go through your brain. Yeah. And then eventually at some point, with more reps, more repetition, more training, you will get to that point where you are unconsciously competent. Okay, this is when you are unconsciously competent, is when the right answer comes in response to the right stimuli without even having to go through conscious process. Like Bruce Lee used to say in Enter the Dragon, when the opponent expands, I contract. When he contracts, I expand. And when there is an opportunity, I do not hit. It hits all by itself. That's what it meant. It meant it's not even going through his mind anymore. It's more than automatic. It's instinctive. Yeah. And now on the top of that, mastery is really the cherry on the cake. Is the top of the top. Mastery is when the right answer comes in response to the right stimuli. Without, boom, that's it. It's there. You see a window, boom, you just went through that window, and it's a knockout. It's a knockdown, and you don't even have to think about it. Yeah. Look at professional boxers. Professional boxers, when it comes to their hands, at least some of them, look at people like Mike Tyson. That's pure mastery. He's not even thinking about it. Look at his fights. When he fights, he wasn't thinking about it anymore. It was not conscious. Yeah. There was no conscious decisions. Yes, there was, like all fighters, learn to deal with their adrenaline. So they learn to calm their heart rate, so that they can keep the fighting mind, the strategical mind in there. It's very difficult. I'll be honest with you. I've had a few fights.
It takes practice. It takes exposure. It takes experience. Yeah.
Because even with all the stuff I did, I had a few fights. I boxed for quite a while. I've done Thai boxing for quite a while, and I've trained with professional fighters. I mean, one of my best friends is a 3-time world champion, Panikos Yusuf, who still fights in one championships now. So if, for example, training with him and the lads over there, it's like shit. I get my ass handed over to me all the time because these guys do that for a living. And me, I'm a street fighter. Do you know what I mean? But don't get me wrong. I'm decent at Muay Thai. I'm not the best, far from it. But I know enough to survive. Do you know what I mean? But when you look at people like this, people that do that 3 to 4 to 5 hours a day, that's their job. They have built such a level of iron coordination and skill set and conditioning and stamina. That's why I say, I don't like to speak bad about people. If I don't have anything good to say, I'd rather stay quiet, because I like to stay positive. I'm more of a positive person. I like to focus my energy on positive because what you put in the universe is what comes out.
Exactly.
The universe is like a giant mirror. It's like a big, big mirror with infinite reflection.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see, for example, some people, generally in the Krav Maga industry, but not all of them. I mean, there's people everywhere that I used to think like that before I started to fight in the ring, before I started to box and do Thai boxing, and I started to do interclubs and sparring and a few fights. I was like, oh yeah, I'm training for the streets. Boxing is for the sport and MMA is for the sports. We're training for the street. Like I was even believing in my own delusion. Do you know what I mean? I was like, and then, when I started to step on the ring, I quickly realized that most Krav Maga instructor would get their ass handed over to them in a matter of seconds. By these guys that box, that have been boxing for years, that have been doing Muay Thai for years. These guys are martial athletes. Very often they're very nice and humble people. Very often they're on a spiritual journey as well. You know what I mean? I think that you need a bit of everything. I always say, if you want to be a good fighter, you need to have a good striking base and a good grappling base. And there's nothing better for that than MMA or Thai boxing and jiu-jitsu. Do you know what I mean? Now, on the top of this, now you can sprinkle all the dirty shit on the top of that. The eye gouge, the fish hooking, the maiming, pulling ears, ripping ears, all the small joint manipulation, use of weapon, environmental damage, concussive, clinches, and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's all, it's all important in terms of skill set. Every single martial art has got something to offer. So when you see people just putting other martial arts down, and you see a lot, it's true. Okay, let's just call a spade, like Tony Robbins likes to say. Yeah, but it's like, I did a bit of Aikido when I was younger. And I loved it. I still love it. I got a lot of love for Aikido. That was my father's first martial art as well. But let's just put it that way. If you put an Aikido guy against a guy, I'm not even talking about a pro MMA fighter. I'm just talking about a guy that trains MMA 3 to 5 days a week. We all know what's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? It's because of the nature of the style, the distance, the different range that you have. Like Aikido is extreme close quarter, and there is no striking. I mean, when you get to a certain level and certain styles of Aikido, they also implement strikes with open hands and stuff. But so I think that Aikido's got a lot of good things to offer. I think that MMA has definitely got a lot of things to offer. It's a big mashup of all the stuff that works, and that's why I like MMA so much. If you get, I tell you straight away, I know a few people that have got good MMA bases, so they're good grapplers and good strikers. And with the stuff that I'm teaching them in combative, shit, it's like I'm building killers, absolute killers. Very, very difficult to deal with people like this.
All right. Okay. That was really great, Julien.
Cool.
I'm going to actually agree with Brett here. Well, man, this is the best podcast ever in my mind.
Yeah, a lot of
hard
truths we're going to be exposed tonight. A lot of shit people that want to hear. Like, yeah. So yeah, I promised that, and yeah, you delivered it. So.
Well, I just want to say that I respect everyone. of course, I'm not blind. I can see that some people are teaching stuff that are absolutely, dangerous, and that kind of, that does something to me, because at the end of the day, what I do is to help people and to provide them with realistic answers. And when I see people that are teaching unrealistic stuff, I'm a bit like, but at the end of the day, that's where they're at. It doesn't mean they're bad people. They still have a passion. They still live their passion, and I still respect that. Now, if you want to train for realism, then
Go for realism.
you have to be ready to do what it takes. You have to be ready to get out there and punch each other and try and knock each other out, because that's how we train.
That's
Same in boxing.
Okay, so I mean, in behalf of the moderators of FMA discussion, we thank you very much for coming over and being
I appreciate it. Thank you
for having me.
Very much. Yeah,
it was a pleasure, guys. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure. Yeah,
we'll upload it to YouTube, right, Guru Tom?
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
Dean is going to upload this, and once he is already finished, he's going to basically post the YouTube podcast, and then we're gonna share it to you. Yeah.
Is it possible? Is it possible to get a copy as well for my YouTube channel?
Yeah. I'll send the link to you. I'll send the link to you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. It's been great.
Cheers, man.
And like I said, if you want to find him on his Facebook page, adrenalinecombatives.com, and seek him out. You won't regret it. Great training. Great.
Cheers, man.
Highly recommended.
Get some sleep, guys.
I appreciate that.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Julien.
Take care, guys.
Take care,
man.
All the best.
Thank you.
Right. So there you go. Episode 348 with Julien AC. So I think, I'm going to have Robert Small this weekend as well for an interview. And guys,
thanks for watching. Yeah.
Thank you for watching. And remember, we are going to have the Christmas raffle. Okay. We're just basically getting the flyers done, and we'll let you know when we're going to start accepting the donations for the Christmas raffle. And the Christmas raffle is going to be on the 18th of December, right, Brian?
Yes.
Okay. So
thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Right. I have to say one thing before we go. I know I don't come on here often and do interviews, but a couple of people have messaged me and asked me why I've been doing a lot of interviews, why a lot of stuff going on. But I will try to make myself more apparent and bring the comedy, to the interviews, bring the looseness to the interview. So I think the next interview I'll be doing with you, Guru Tom, is Miss Hilda Octa. We haven't got a date for her yet, I think, or we haven't got a time for her yet. But I think you're gonna be doing it, or Guru Dean. I'm not sure. But
also with Rebecca King.
Rebecca, yeah, we'll be doing that one. So yeah, you will see me on here. I'm not dead. I'm still alive. So.
I know, man.
Everybody says you die or something, you're never on there anymore. It's like, in the shadows working like a vampire. So
I know you basically have a lot of things going on.
Yeah, I have lots of going on right now. So but
it's really nice to have you.
Thank you. Nice to see you too and co-host with you. It's been great. It's been fun. We'll have some more fun again. All right, guys. Have a good night. Take care.
I think we still have a meeting. All right.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Yeah.